Hey loves, it's me. I hope that you had a wonderful snow day, and this is your first video for the last week of this unit. I told you it was going to go by fast. Last week we've been looking at the Earth and the Sun as a system, and now we're going to add our third player, which is the Moon. So this video is titled Lunar Phases, the Earth, Moon, and Sun as a system. So let's take a look at what part the Moon plays. So the Moon is just another body that's going to be a part of this system. The Moon is going to rotate and revolve just as the Earth is rotating and revolving. So the Moon's rotation, it goes around its axis counterclockwise. But the difference between the Moon's rotation and the Earth's rotation, the Earth, it takes 24 hours. The Moon, one rotation takes 29 days. So we only see one side of the Moon because the Moon rotates so slowly. One rotation is actually the same time period as one complete revolution around the Earth. But we'll get to that in just a second. The Moon doesn't produce its own light. So even though we can't see it during the daytime, it's still in our sky. The Moon doesn't produce its own light because it simply reflects off the surface the light of the Sun, which is why we can only really see it at night. I would challenge you to look early in the morning if you're on your way to 0 hour, or later in the evening as the sun is going down. Sometimes you can catch a glimpse of it. The Moon revolves around the Earth. One revolution is about 29 days, and we call this a lunar cycle or a lunar month. A lot of civilizations use the Moon as their original calendar, so we would call it the lunar calendar. The last piece is the Moon's position changes relative to Earth and Sun. Because we've got this motion that's going on, we end up seeing different parts of the Moon that are lit up, and we call those the phases. And it's simply what we see from Earth's surface as how it reflects the Sun. This is a picture of the phases or the lunar cycle. You'll notice that the Sun is on the left side. Here's our Sun, which means the Earth is on the right, and if you'll notice in the top corner, I wrote that this is winter in the northern hemisphere. So the phases of the Moon that you're seeing, this is what we're currently seeing right now up in our sky. You'll notice that the Moon is going to move in a counterclockwise fashion, just like the Earth rotates and revolves around the Sun. The Moon is going to rotate and revolve in a counterclockwise fashion. My trick to this: find the Sun and then find the new Moon. The new Moon in its position is always going to be between the Sun and the Earth. The next position that I find is directly opposite of the new Moon, and that's going to be the full moon. This is the time of the month where I see, or you see, the entire moon filled up. Once you find those two phases, you'll notice that the Moon moves a quarter of the way around, and we come to the first quarter moon, where we see half of the moon lit up. Then it moves another quarter and gets us to our full moon, moves a third quarter, and that gets us to the third quarter moon. The other half of the moon would be lit up in the sky or reflecting the sun's light, and then we move this direction. As the Moon is going to move from new to full, we call that wax on, or the waxing phases. So you'll see a waxing crescent and a waxing gibbous. As it goes from full moon to new moon, we have what we call waning phases, or the waning gibbous and waning crescent. Pause the video and sketch this in your notebook. Now, while the Moon is moving, so is the Earth. So 6 months later, the Sun is going to be on a completely different side, here's the Sun, from the Earth than it was during wintertime. So this would be a picture example of summer in the northern hemisphere. We have the exact same phases in the same order, but here's your new moon between the Sun and the Earth, and here is your full moon. It's still going to move counterclockwise, so we're moving counterclockwise, moving counterclockwise. We have the exact same phases, just different parts are lit up because of the position. Pause the video and go ahead and sketch this in your notebook. Now this week is all about practice, so you're going to have your drawings and use your notes. And that's a wrap.